Hello everyone, Matt with Go here. Today I'm hitting you with a future deck tech using the cards that have been spoiled thus far for War of the Spark. This deck is called Orzhov Staying A-Lifegain, and we're gonna hit our opponents with creatures and planeswalkers that grow as the game goes on while gaining tons of life. Our game plan's pretty simple. We get down to life gain payoff, and then we start gaining life. We got tons of ways to gain life. Every single card in this deck either gets better when we gain life or gains us life. I'm going to start with the creatures. A Johnny's Pridemate, life gain staple here. 2/2, grows bigger every time you gain life. It's a fantastic early blocker versus aggro decks. It's early pressure versus control deck, and it'll draw removal from our more important cards. It's really powerful if it just sits on the battlefield while we play normally, which will make our opponent want to get rid of it. Next, we got 4 copies of Resplendent Angel, the big life gain payoff. We've seen this in Standard for quite a while. Never quite hit the top tier. 5 life is quite a bar to hit, and usually even with this deck, it'll take 2 cards to do that. But it can activate itself and get that payoff all on its own, even if we have nothing else on the board. Next is 4 copies of Gideon's Company. This is a fast-growing creature. 2 +1/+1 counters every time we gain life. Yeah, it's a little slow at 4 mana, but we don't need to keep it out there very long like Pridemate. This thing is going to grow to an unmanageable size very quickly, and late game we can sink mana into him to make our Gideon better. Then we have 2 copies of Basilica Bellhaunt. This guy's just a great value creature. I've been impressed with him ever since I started playing with him Unlimited. I brought him into Standard and I was happy with him there. He's a solid blocker. He'll gain us life, which is just what we're looking for. And, you know, if we run out of all other resources, he can be a finisher. Then we have 2 copies of Lyra Dawnbringer. Fantastic combo with Resplendent Angel here. Generally just take 1 hit and then 1 other life gain spell, and we're off to the races. 4/4, 4/4 every single turn. Fantastic card here, but I'm only looking at 2 of it because 5 mana. It's a single creature that'll be removed by a single removal spell, even though it is so great here. Next are our planeswalkers. We've got 4 copies of Gideon Blackblade. Gives us lifelink on our Pridemate, which is insane. Not to mention, he's a 4/4 indestructible all by himself. He's going to end the game even if we can't manage to get anything else on the board. Next are 3 copies of Sorin Vengeful Bloodlord. He'll give lifelink to everything we have without even needing to plus him. He'll ping, gain us life, trigger those Johnny Pridemate, those Gideon's Company, everything that we're looking to do in this deck. Plus, he's also got a nice little minus. So we're really dependent on Pridemate and Gideon's Company to finish the game, really. So what the Sorin can do is bring those creatures back to the battlefield where they can start getting that value again. And we also have 1 copy of Kaya Orzhov Usurper. She is fantastic versus control. We can get her down early, start gaining life early, and if she's protected, she'll end the game on her own. Now we've got a removal suite because, you know, as much as I'd like to imagine life gain's just going to keep us alive forever, it won't. We've got 2 copies of Moment of Craving. It's best against aggro and small creatures. It can be a combat trick, but it's really not as useful there. We want to use it to remove a creature while growing our Pridemate and our Gideon's Companies. We've also got 2 copies of Nightmare's Thirst. Probably not a card that you've seen much. It's super high value. 1 mana could possibly remove any creature that they throw out there, with the exception of probably a Galta. But the thing is, it requires other cards to be good. By itself, it'll give a single creature -1/-1, which is not going to win us any battles. So we only want to play 2 copies of it. Next, we have 3 copies of Mortify. This is very important. It gets rid of Wilderness, Search for Iskanta, get rid of Conclave Tribunal and Ixalan's Binding, and it's also unconditional creature removal because Nightmare's Thirst and Moment of Craving are really not going to cut it all the time. We've also got a couple synergistic spells here. 3 copies of Fountain of Renewal. This is a perfect turn 1 play for this deck. Turn 3, it'll start growing our Pridemate. Also, we can turn it into a card when we don't need that life anymore. we've got 2 copies of Dawn of Hope. This is card advantage in white. Those 4 words alone should convince you to play this. It only triggers on life gain, but this deck, we're gaining life all the time, so we're just going to keep drawing cards. With Grixis Control probably going to be the popular deck of the next meta, this card is amazing. They do not have enchantment removal, and it comes out early. We don't need to commit anything more to the board if our opponent's playing Grixis Control. This will keep making soldiers, keep gaining us life, keep drawing us cards, and that is a battle that we are winning. Then our lands. It's a mostly standard black-white package. We've got 4 copies of Isolated Chapel, 4 copies of Godless Shrine. We also have a nice mix of plains and swamps, a little bit slanted toward plains because we want to be able to play Resplendent Angel and Gideon on time. There's also a nice little bit of spice in here with 1 copy of Karn's Bastion. We have 2 very powerful planeswalkers and 2 creatures that depend on +1/+1 counters. Having a nice way to dump mana into them and proliferate them over and over is really powerful. In our sideboard, we've got 4 copies of Duress versus Control, 1 copy of Dawn of Hope because, like I said, amazing versus Grixis Control. We also have an additional copy of Kaya and the spice of the sideboard, which I cannot wait to play against someone, 1 copy of Lich's Mastery. This is fantastic in a life gain deck. The only reason I don't have it main board is because it's 6 mana and this deck is not playing for 6 mana. If we ever get that stuck in our hand, we are going to fold versus aggro, and Control is just going to laugh at us while they either yank it from our hand or wait for us to try to play it and then counter it easily. Against aggro, we have 2 copies of Moment of Craving, 2 copies of Basilica Bellhaunt. Basilica Bellhaunt, like I said, an amazing blocker, gains us life, get some of that ammunition out of their hand. For mid-range, we have 2 copies of the Elder Spell, the recently spoilered card that will destroy any number of planeswalkers. What I do like about this, even though it costs 2 black to play, we're not casting it on turn 2. We're casting it on turn 4, turn 5, turn 6, really any time after that, so we don't need to strain our mana base to be able to play 2 black on turn 2. We also have the 4th copy of Mortify in case our opponent is relying on enchantments, and we also have 2 copies of Ravnica at War. This is a good way to wipe out our opponent's board while leaving ours pretty much untouched. We only run 2 multicolor spells in this deck. Well, that's all I've got for you with this deck tech. Don't forget you can check us out at landsago.com, on Twitter at landsago1, our personal Facebook page, or our group, The Sideboard. Also, we're a growing team, so I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button, or even just hitting that like button would be a big help for us. This is Matt from Land Say Go, signing off.